Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. I sitting over here and might as well say Lafayette, Louisiana. You got to sit somewhere. I reckon this is a good place any to sit. I had got a comment on one of my old videos, and I could not put together what he was talking about, so I clicked over there to see that old video, which I still didn't put together what he was talking about. However, I seen one of the comments that was on there where they was inquiring about me doing a video about CBs. What's the best CB and antenna and all that? And I did one with my opinion of them. Well, seeing that, I got thinking about a buddy of mine in Oklahoma. You've heard me badmouth him before. His name's Kelly. He thinks he can cook, but he ain't near as good as me. He used to think he could drive, but he finally figured out he couldn't and got off the road. Actually, his health took him off. But then he opened up a CB shop, and he did CBs for quite a while, which there ain't no money in it no more, so he only tinkers at the house. So I've got him online here on the phone, and I thought that we would just question him a little bit and pick his brain on the CB stuff for this day and age. So here he is. Hey, brother, how you doing?
All right, how you doing today, Joe?
Oh, doing good, doing good. My day's over with. I didn't wreck. I didn't get a ticket, so, I'm doing good.
That's a good thing. That's what happens when you drive an automatic, though.
Well, a slow automatic at that. So, what the heck? Well, I guess you heard my intro, so you know what this video is going to be about. So, what do you think, for these drivers just starting out here, what is an overall decent CB without getting into stupid money and all that? What route should a driver take?
Well, if you're just starting out in the business and everything like that, and they just want something to get from point A to point B, I would recommend a Cobra 29 LTD Classic. It's an older model radio, true to the point, and it's a fairly cheap radio. For about $90, you can get into the radio itself.
Well, and that's what I had told them when I did mine, with just old Classic 29. You can even go into those and tweak and peek and give them a little kicker in there. I've heard some of them that can really walk the dog, so it ain't like it's a throwaway. It's something that they can progress a little bit as they grow, right?
Right. You can add things to this radio that you can't probably add to a lot of other radios, because other radios are transmitter radios and everything like that. That means they have a solid state board instead of the old boards like we used to get when we was younger and stuff like that, where you could cut a limiter here and clip a piece there to make it louder and stronger and adjust the squelch and your volume and everything like that, and set your power levels and everything like that through the board on the radio. Okay, but nowadays they made it to where that's all sealed, and the only modifications you can make is what you can figure out how to do.
Right.
Okay. And what I mean by figure out how to do, they have several different recommendations on how to adjust a radio, how to peak and tune a radio, that a lot of people don't take into consideration, because somebody that thinks they're a CB technician will take and pop the bottom off the radio and start turning stuff.
Right. We used to call them butcher shops. They used to tear up some radios.
And they clip limiters and everything like that. Okay, I've always been a firm believer, and I've always went with this aspect ever since I started working on radios, that you should never clip nothing, because you're taking power away from something else, and that's going to make that radio weaker as you go.
Right.
Okay. Now, a lot of people think more power creates more modulation. They could not be further from the truth.
Correct.
Okay, less wattage, more modulation is the key factor here. Okay, if you got a radio that does 4 watts from the factory, which Cobra 25, 29, the 48, 148 and all that stuff is factory set at 4 watts.
Right.
That's FCC regulations. That's the way they set them and everything like that. And they follow a strict guideline when they ship these radios. Okay. For us old technicians that know how to do these old radios and everything like that, it's nothing for us to turn the radios back down a little bit and turn the modulation up, because that is essentially what gets you out. Okay, the first thing that you got to know is a rule of thumb. Okay, just because you go buy a $300 or $400 radio doesn't mean you got a $300 or $400 radio.
Right.
What you do, and this is always been my adage, if your antenna is a $10 antenna, you have a $10 radio.
Right.
Radio is only as good as its antenna system and its grounding system.
Right.
Okay. In order to get the most optimum power out of a radio of any kind, is to go in and tune that radio to that antenna.
Right.
Maybe by what I mean by tuning the radio to antenna is where your SWR ratios are flat matched to 1-to-1. I like to run my radios about a 1-to-1 because that gives me a little leeway and it gives me a little more pop when I take off talking.
All right.
Okay.
This opens up a couple of things. I'm going to cut you off for a minute. I have that radio shop. You didn't get to visit him when you came down to the house, but there by the truck stop, we got that radio shop. I decided to put one of my old radios back in the truck, and I stopped by, and I called it matching, and I asked him to match my radio and my antennas, and he commenced to talk to me like I was dumber than a bag of rocks. And they come out of the factory where you don't have to match them anymore and set SWRs and all this stuff. And I just told him, well, you ain't my kind of guy. So I turned around and left. Now, was I off base? Now, and mind you, mine was an old radio. It ain't like I just bought it out of a damn truck stop. Mine was probably, 20 years old. You know what I run.
Yeah.
So
here's the theory. Okay, in relativity, they want to take your money.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They want to tell you they need to do this, they need to do that. Okay, the first thing you got to know is SWRs.
Well, he wasn't wanting to take my money. He didn't want to do nothing. He told me, if you want me to just take your money, I'll go out there and mess with it a couple minutes and charge you. He says, but you can't set the SWRs on these radios anymore. And I'm like, what? Which actually... Didn't you used to trim the antenna to get your SWRs right? You would trim the antenna more than anything, correct?
On the Francis antennas, you had to trim the antennas. They were fiberglass antennas, so therefore you had to adjust accordingly. Okay, fiberglass antennas are good antennas to a certain point. A lot of people like the fiberglass antennas. Now the Wilson antennas and a lot of the newer antennas are not using a SWR calibration. They're preset from the factory. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a high SWR or a low, extremely low SWR on an antenna system. Okay, just what they mean by putting it in from the factory doesn't mean that they check the SWRs on them. They put them in. They install that stuff inside the factory. And they put the coax through the mirrors, and a lot of mirrors are heated nowadays. Okay, so they run that coax through the mirror brackets and down through the brackets on the mirror holders themselves and into the truck that way.
Right.
Okay, and that's what they call a no ground system.
Okay, that was the next question I was going to ask you. If we wasn't having grounding issues on these modern day trucks.
Yes. A lot of times you'll have grounding issues because fiberglass is not, through that plastic body on that mirror, there is no metal touching anywhere except for where the PLL connector is connected to the antenna on the mirror and the antenna connects on the back of the radio. That's the only protection that you have for your SWR readings. Okay, if you can't adjust them antennas and they're already pre-tuned and preset, then they should be a flat match or a 1-to-1 at the very least. Okay, but a a lot of times I find when I go out and look at a new truck and everything like that, and I put a meter on, I don't care. I'm old school. I like putting a meter on everything. I like to know that my stuff is right, what I'm selling and what I'm putting in that truck is going to work for that driver. You know, there's a difference between talking a half a mile to a mile. You want to get directions into town and everything like that, half a mile to a mile is good. But if you're on the road and everything like that, you use that form of radio for a form of communication between other states and stuff like that, like skip talk.
Right.
Okay. The higher your SWRs when you're talking skip, the better it is.
Right.
Okay. But when you're talking distance on the road, we're talking line of sight. Okay. A lot of people think that radio waves travel up and down through the hills and everything like that. They're a direct line of sight. Okay. What I mean by direct line of sight, 20 miles out in front of you, it doesn't matter. You have direct line of sight. The front to the back. Okay. The front side is going to be your receive end. The back side of your antenna is going to be your put out. By when you key up the radio and you're talking into that radio, that's where your power comes out.
Right.
Okay, is on the end of the radio. Okay. Now, say if you had a Cobra 29 pushing a watt and a half, and you had a 150 watt linear on this particular radio, okay, you would have a setup that would be 7 to 1 out the end gate. Okay. You got 150 watts on your linear. Okay, just because it says it's 150 watts does not mean it's 150 watts.
Right.
See, when they say it's a 150, it's usually 100, 105, 125 maybe.
Right.
You have to tune the box to the radio. Okay, so therefore, strictly speaking, if you got an antenna that's not matched to the box and to the radio, then you'll burn up all three.
Right.
Antennas, radio, and box.
Right.
And so a lot of people go to the preference of what kind of antennas they run and everything like that. And there's several good antennas out there. I think right now for the top of the market that I'm working in, as far as setting antennas and everything like that, Stryker is phenomenal for a mobile antenna. They have them for big trucks that mount down to the mirrors on the big trucks. And they also have a magnet mount system.
Do you hear about the old monkey made antennas anymore? That was where was that guy out of?
You can still order the monkey maids.
Out of Amarillo, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he used to have some killer ones. Something else I want to question you about, and don't forget, this is for beginners on here, so we don't want to go talking too bad over their head or they'll turn us off. When they first started coming out with these computer trucks, all the companies was telling us about not running our kickers and all this stuff because it was throwing too much power. We would burn up the computers in the trucks and all that. In all your years, have you had anything like that happen?
No, I have not. Okay. Now, I have heard drivers talk about linears messing with the computers on their trucks and everything like that and throwing their system off into the shutdown mode and losing power in the truck and everything like this. But as it turned out, they had a bad part on their truck and they had to change that part.
Okay.
Clinically speaking, no. It should not affect the way the truck operates and everything like that unless you're running an exorbitant amount of power. And by what I mean by that, if you're running over 500 watts in a truck, you're pushing your limits.
Well, you know yourself that back in the day, I used to talk skip. I had them big radios, and it wasn't nothing to cut in on phone conversations. Of course, you couldn't hear, but they could hear you. Come across TVs. If somebody had a home base like you got, it has to be so high in the air, otherwise it cuts in on people's TVs and all that. And I think that was a whole lot of their playing off of you can't run too much wattage or else you'll mess up the trucks. I think that's where that was coming from. But I never heard of it actually happen to anybody.
I haven't either, other than what I've heard from drivers, so to speak. The thing is, the rule of the FCC is if you have an antenna attached to the side of your house or a dwelling or a business that you use to operate a CB radio, the operating procedure says you have to be in the first place. first wavelength is from 53 to 58 feet in the air.
Right.
Okay. The second wavelength is at 68 feet.
Right.
Okay. So you got two different wavelengths that you can travel in. Okay. Your 53 to 58 would be for local talking. You know, like I live in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. If I wanted to talk to Tulsa or Oklahoma City, that would be the line of sight talk. The more power you have behind the line of sight, which is straight radio,
Right.
the further you get out. Okay, and depending on the radio, you can get into some serious money in radios.
Oh yeah, we used to tie up some big bucks.
Yeah, you know, and I used to run a kicker in my truck. Okay, I had a 98 Peterbilt motorized. The thing is that the way I run my radios and everything like that, I use a common ground, which is a frame ground.
Right.
Okay, and I put outside antennas on instead of the factory antennas. I pulled the factory antennas out of the way and mounted metal brackets around where I could set my SWRs and everything like that, and that's how I ran my radios. But then I got the bright idea, why not run an antenna off the headache rack? Because you're feeding the tip of the antennas where your power and your outage is going.
Right.
Okay. It comes down through the antenna and into the truck. So I tried a 102-inch steel whip off the ladder rack in the back of the truck.
That'd be a little bit tall.
If you keep it, you know, at the level where it's not as tall as your trailer by 2 or 3 inches, then you got no problems.
Yeah.
But usually at 13.6 or 13.8 even, you're going to smack an antenna on the bridge when you go under it.
And that ain't good for them, whether they're fiberglass or metal. That's not good on them. Speaking of running, now it used to be that we always badmouth the factory coaxial and all that when they start putting those in trucks. Are they any better nowadays? Can these guys run the factory coaxial and have a decent coaxial? Is that a good system?
No.
No, it's still shit?
I'm going to tell you why. The systems that they run are press systems. Okay? When you're in a factory and everything like that, just like when you go to a cable line company where they sell big rolls of this stuff. Okay, they buy the big rolls of this stuff at the factory in order to run these radios and antennas and everything like that in the big trucks to make them, so they call them matched sets.
Right.
Yes, they are matched, but they aren't SWR metered or anything like that. They're just pressed together and put together, and nothing else is done to them. So they figure they got this antenna at 4 foot, whatever on the mirror, and it's adjusted and it's going to be a flat match on the SWRs.
Right.
That is not the case.
Okay. Another question I want you to elaborate on a little bit is I have seen and heard, well, I've seen it as in I've got into a truck where it's already been done. They have dual antennas on the truck from the factory, one on each mirror. And they break one, lose one, whatever. There's a Y up there, and instead of undoing them and getting a coupling and matching up just one, they will only run one antenna with the other one either totally gone or just unplugged out of the Y. I've always understood that that's a good way to burn up your radio. Is this true?
Okay, here's the theory behind dual antennas. Okay, first of all, you're never going to get a perfect match on SWRs on dual antennas. I don't care who you are. You can be the best CV technique in the world. Okay, you're not going to get a true, accurate reading on a dual set of antennas. For the basic, simple fact that you got two common grounds working against each other.
Right.
Okay, but you got a matched system in any truck with dual antennas. You disconnect to one, that wire's still fed through the other side, and it's all grounded in the same system. Okay, by having it grounded in the same system, you're still feeding off that line. Okay, it doesn't matter if you disconnect it or whatever, you're still feeding off that line. If it's within 3 to 4 or 5 inches of it, you're still feeding off that line. You're still feeding off both antennas. And that's common sense right there.
Right.
Okay, common sense will tell you if you got dual antennas, you need to disconnect that coax completely out of there and pull it out.
Well, if it's a company truck, they can't just start tearing stuff apart and all of that. But so they need to roll it up, pull it, whatever they can do to get as far away from their other coaxial as possible.
If they got it to the other side of the truck, over by the window or something like that, up in that little cubby hole that they set up in, yes, that would probably be all right. But it is not recommended that you run dual antennas on any kind of application other than if you're on a set steel type basis, you know.
Right.
Say like you're just running a backhoe or something like that, and you wanted to run a radio in your backhoe. That'd be the idea because that's all metal.
Right.
Trucks are fiberglass. There's no grounding system, true grounding system on new trucks.
Yep. Not even your door hinges. We used to be able to go to the bolts holding the mirrors onto the doors, or go to a door hinge bolt. Even going to those anymore is not a true ground. Your only true ground now is to go back to the box, right?
You either go back to the box or to the frame.
Right.
And by going to the frame, if you go underneath where your transmission sets out on your truck and everything like that, you pull that boot up a little bit and you run a ground system down to that side of that transmission that's bolted up in there. You can't do it to the side of the transmission because the transmission is not steel. Right,
it's a aluminum alloy or some nonsense.
Yes, and nothing will stick to it, just like a pop can, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Now, let's step back to that dual antenna. Now, back in the day, I ran dual, hell, we all did. My understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding, these radio waves are kind of like throwing a rock out into a pond, and you get them round waves coming out. Basically, that's how your waves leave your antenna. So thus far, if you have two antennas, and it's like throwing two rocks into that pond, well, they start clashing each other, and they don't go near as far out, where single rock will go all the way across that pond. If you throw two rocks out there, then them waves coming together, they're not going to go all the way across the pond, maybe halfway. So that was my understanding of running dual antennas, is with two, you don't get out near as far. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, there is a truth to that, because what you're doing when you run dual antennas, you're running from the front of the truck to the back of the truck, okay? And no matter whether you're going east, west, north, or south, everything off the side's all fair game. That's what I call splatter waves.
Right.
Okay. Radio waves, depending on the radio, Cobra 29 is round wave. Okay, if you get into the more expensive radios like the Ranger with the potbelly linear built into it and everything like that, you're getting into a whole different range. That's called a square tube. Okay. And it sends out a square signal. Okay, because it's so precise on its bandwidth and modulation width. Okay, and what I mean by that is, okay, most radios are tuned to an oscilloscope. An oscilloscope is a round scope. They got I can't think of the name right off the top of my head. I want to say it's an oscilloscope, which measures square waves, which is what the new radios run, like your new Strikers and everything like that, you know, and not say anything bad about any other radio out there and everything like that. If you're going to buy a radio these days and everything like that, buy one that's tested and true. Okay, Stryker had its own system out for a long time and everything like that, and they called it quits for a year or two. Okay, now they come back out with new radio, new antenna system and everything like that, and they have improved this 300%.
Huh.
Okay. You know, the only actual advantage of putting a good system on your vehicle or your truck or what have you is the SWRs and what it takes to get out there these days. Because there's a lot of noise and RM noise, and every radio is going to pick up RM noise because you can hear the motor sound in a truck.
Right.
And sometimes you can even hear it on the stereo in a truck.
Right.
If that's happening, then that ground system is broke down in that truck somewhere.
Yep.
You know, and so you need to start checking body grounds.
That's what I was waiting to say, is you need to check your ground.
without a good grounding system, your antenna's not any better than fishing a fishing pole out the window and trying to talk on it.
Right. Ground, whether your radio system is your number one best friend. It'll make you or break you, period.
Yep, and a lot of times it'll break a lot of people because they don't think about the grounding system. Well, yeah, it's all grounded out and everything like that, but where are you going to turn to when you check that SWR and it says it's not grounded?
Right.
Residual readings and everything like that, when your system is grounded, should be dead zero. Okay, if you got any kind of movement in that needle and everything like that, when you touch them diodes or your connectors from your SWR meter to that antenna, if that meter is moving any at all by itself, then that tells me there's a grounding problem.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, number one issue is grounding. If you don't have a good ground, you don't have a good system.
Right.
Okay, number two is your antenna. Your antenna is only as good as your system, and your system is only as good as your antenna. Like I said, if you buy a $10 antenna, you just bought yourself a $10 radio. You can spend $1,000 on that radio. You got a $10 antenna, you got a $10 radio. I don't care how much expense you got in that radio.
Right. That
So-
goes with that old saying about lipsticks and pigs, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
It's fiberglass is for fishing, metal's for talking.
Right. There you
I've
go.
always gone with that same aspect too. But there are a couple of good fiberglass antennas out there still. And for instance,
Those fire sticks used to be pretty good.
fire sticks were overrated. Them are the most ununiform type of antennas. They got a screw in the top of them.
Yep.
And when you start messing with those antennas and messing with that screw and everything like that without adjusting the wire on the inside of the antenna and clipping it and welding, soldering it back on, then you're fighting a losing battle.
Right.
So therefore, that is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, but hell, they was so cheap you could throw one away and just buy another one. Well, the only time I ever did was whenever I broke one of my good antennas and I just needed something to get me home to another pair or whatever. And I'd just buy me a pair of fire sticks and stick them on there, and away I go.
the thing is there, okay, when you get a system like that, you have to work on it. And that's any system. I
Right.
don't care if it's brand new or old and out of date and everything like that. You have to keep them in tune, and in order to make them stay in check.
Do you recommend any of these drivers to be buying the old radios and stuff that they find out and about? Not necessarily out of a radio shop, but
If you go into a yard sale and you see a Cobra 29 or something like that, and you want to throw it in your side box to have it as an extra radio, by all means do so.
we used to carry 2 or 3 extra radios. What are you talking about?
You know what I'm saying? Every time we're out and about and we look around, yeah, that's what we do. That's how we do it.
Last time me and Rose came up your way, I brought you a bunch of radios. I don't remember how long ago that was. And
12 years ago.
yeah, 10 years, whatever it was. Now it's all me. I probably accumulated another 8 of them. It's an addiction. I'll be out and about and I'll see one, and I keep waiting and watching for an old president. I always loved them old presidents. Grant was my favorite. Speaking of that, I was told that they're coming out with a new line of presidents. Are they?
They have a brand new Grant coming out in the end of February or 1st of March. And it's going to be called a Grant XL.
I wonder if it'll be any good. I'm afraid of the new and improved, because usually new and improved really ain't new and improved.
No, because that radio was a good radio when it sold brand new back in the day.
Right,
Okay, but it's like a dinosaur radio now.
right.
And it's just like, the old radios that we mess with and everything like that, they're dinosaur radios. You have to have somebody that knows what they're doing with them radios to work on them to begin with.
Right.
Okay?
Well, some of them I got at the house are what were they, 21 channels? You know,
Right.
I've got a couple of them at the house. I just went somewhere and old boy had some, and I had a dream, a pipe dream of having one in all the vehicles and on all the equipment running around the farm, which I haven't done, but it sounded good at the time, so I bought them for nothing. So if you've got a dinosaur yard, I might make a donation to the dinosaur boneyard.
Well, you know, it's about old farm equipment around the yard. Okay, you buy a tractor, you work on it all your life and everything like that, and it just lays down on you in the end. Okay, you let it set for 10, 15 years and everything like that, try to rack your brain and figure out what to do to make that thing straight and everything like that. So you usually go buy a new tractor. Okay, buying a new tractor ain't always the best thing or the best thing to do.
Right.
When you buy a radio, you buy a radio due to your taste.
Yep.
Okay, and taste is only as good as a radio. You know, you can, like I said, you can go spend $20, $30 on a used 29, or you can buy a brand new one
For 90. Call it 100. Well, are they? Would they be safe? Let me rephrase that. Would I be safe in saying that they could buy a new 29 out of the box and just go ahead and hook it up into a modern day truck and have an okay system?
You know, the thing is, you know, when you buy that kind of a system, quit. Sorry about my girls.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, when you buy a system, especially a radio system, okay, you're buying one man's junk is another man's treasure. I've always looked at it like that.
Yep. Just like you're buying a used car. You're buying someone else's problems.
Absolutely. And the thing is that when you do that, you know, you're taking on that responsibility of that radio to make sure it works right.
Right.
Okay, whether you paid $5 for it or you paid $500 for it, that's just the way it is. Okay, in a radio business, okay, it's like lean years. Okay, we'll step off into lean years here for just a second. Okay, lean years usually go for $1 a watt.
Yep.
Okay, and
Now that's a used one, right?
That's a used one, yes.
What's the new one sell for?
Depending on what you want. If you want to say like a 250, you're probably $300 or $400 into a 250. You're probably $150 into a 100 water. The smaller you go, the less money it is. But the bigger you go, the more money it is. Okay, if you want to do 1,000 watt in a truck and everything like that, you're looking at $500-$600 just to set it up.
Right.
So, you know, your most time-consuming thing is set up and the unveiling of what system you have and how you can make that system work for that vehicle.
Right.
But it has to be set up. It has to be worked where you can do that thing.
You know, it's amazing that 20 years ago we was paying $1 a watt for a used one.
Right. And that really hasn't changed that much from the adage from back then to now. But you will pay a little more from some people that can take real good care of their stuff.
Right.
Okay. The people that drive trucks and everything like that, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody driving a truck or anything like that. Don't take this the wrong way. But they don't give a shit about the radio system. Once they get it set in there, they think that it should work perfect all the time. That is not the case. It's called maintenance.
Right. Well, and
you have to work on your truck. You have to work on that radio.
Exactly.
Get it out there and clean it up every once in a while. Make sure everything's proper and the right wattage is going through your finals and drivers and everything like that, or have them changed. Now, driving a semi and everything like that, a lot of times you have to drop your radios off to get them fixed and everything like that, and that's all fine and well. But the thing is that when you're doing something like that, you have to take it to a reputable shop.
There's the key right there.
You know, that you would trust to drop your radio off to.
Right, and that's what I told them before in some of my videos, is that we all had our shops that we would go to, hence why we carried backup radios or spare radios, because we wouldn't just let anybody open up our radio and work on them. There was too many butcher shops out there. But yeah, what you're saying about the maintenance on them, it's like anything with truck drivers and trucks. You have the extremists. You have the guy that don't take care of nothing on his truck or his radio. Then you got the other guy that he keeps that truck immaculate and he keeps his radio stuff immaculate. You're either really into it or you really just half-ass, okay, I got one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, most people that get into truck driving these days and everything like that really don't care less because they got a cell phone or an iPad or whatever. They got communication skills other ways and everything like that. So therefore they choose not to talk to what I call them is oxymorons.
Right.
On the radio.
Yep.
Okay. And, most of the time it's an IQ basis.
Yep.
Okay. You're only as smart as the radio that you operate.
Right.
Okay. And that's not saying people are dumb. But what I'm saying is if you don't know nothing about radios, don't touch them.
Right. Well, and
if you don't trust the person that you got working on your stuff, then by all means do not take it to them.
Right.
You see some of the work they done and here's some of the work they done in a parking lot or whatever. Everything sounds good 300 foot away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the 7, 8, 10, 12, 18, 20 miles down the road that you're talking back to that driver at that truck stop that's talking on the radio that he just had peaked and tuned and everything like that. That's what I call talking on the radio.
Right, and not just to the shop that has a base unit.
Right. And that's the thing. Here we go again. The basis of CB radio work is the osmosis of making the radio perform to its optimum power, optimum modulation, and everything else that goes along with that osmosis.
Right.
Okay. So therefore, we get back to the $10 antenna.
Right.
If you got a $10 antenna, you got a $10 radio. You might as well just chalk it up and say, hey, I got $20 invested in this crap. I might as well just throw this dang thing away.
Right. Well, this is starting to get a little bit long on us, 37 minutes so far. If somebody wants to take the next step, just past that Cobra 19, what would you recommend for them?
If I was going to go the next step past a regular 29 or a 25 or a Cobra 19 or whatever, I would step up and go into either a Striker, Connex. Connex makes a good radio. I used to love the crap out of the Galaxies.
Yeah, I did too.
Not so much anymore.
The old Galaxy 33 was one of my best. That North Star that I gave you was a pretty good radio.
I had a Galaxy 88.
Yeah.
One of the best radios I ever talked on and one of the best radios I ever had. But they made a NRI, which was a 3800 series, which was basically the same radio as the Galaxy 88, but it had a little more power.
Right.
Okay. I don't necessarily care about the power as much as I care about being able to talk on the radio. Okay, if you're running a box and a radio and everything like that, and that box is getting warm and that radio's getting warm, you got a grounding problem. I don't care how you look at it, you got a grounding problem.
Right.
Your radio can never be hot, your box should never be hot. If it comes to that point that you need to put bands on them, then you need to start checking your grounds.
Right. Now, if they're getting set up with their Cobra 29 and they have some decent antennas, if they take the next step up, do they need to upgrade them antennas, or are them antennas going to be good as they progress along with the radio?
It all depends on the radio and how far they want to modulate out. Say your Francis antennas, they're good for 3 to 7 miles. Okay, your K40 antennas about the same. Okay, when you start talking metal antennas and everything like that, like the bandits and stuff like that, your monkey mates and stuff like that, then you're talking more more money and more antenna system that you need to accommodate for those antennas because they love raw power on them.
Right.
Okay. Now the Striker antennas, they're good antennas. They have a mobile and a magnet mount for top of vehicle practice, so like that. Yeah, anytime you upgrade your radio and everything like that, you need to at least evaluate your system and see if that might be something that you want to do, is change them antennas and everything like that.
All right. All right, well, I'm going to cut this off on us. We sure do appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you talking with us and maybe educating a few people and helping some out. Let me sign off, and me and you'll just shoot the bull a little bit without them listening in on our call.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm going to have to get back to you. Got company here right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll call you back here in just probably 30, 45 minutes.
All right, brother. I appreciate you. God bless.
All right. All right, bye.
Love you. Bye.
We do. Bye.
All right, folks, there you go. You heard it from a radio technician. Kelly's pretty good at what he does, and I think he gave you some pretty good advice. It's been so long since I messed with radios. I used to be into them bad. They are very addictive. They can take a lot of money, and some of us used to get carried away back in the day. Now we don't have to talk that, Skip. We just pick up the cell phone. But hopefully that helped y'all a little bit. Y'all remember, God loves you, and so do I. Y'all have a blessed evening now. Good night.